Domestic abuse happens in LGBTQ+ relationships. But how do you recognise the signs, and where do you go for support? What is domestic abuse?
In Scotland, domestic abuse is defined as a pattern of behaviour perpetrated by a current partner or an ex-partner, and it includes physical, sexual, emotional and financial abuse, as well as other controlling behaviours, and stalking or following you as well.
All right.
And controlling like online stuff.
All right. I know as well that it can sort of happen to like anyone, regardless of what their gender is or what their sexual orientation is. And I know as well in terms of the relationship, it can be anything from like monogamous or polyamorous, regardless of if someone's dated, if they've had sex, if they've lived together, if they've been married or not. There's like so sort of many things, but it can happen to anyone.
How can you tell if your LGBTQ+ relationship is abusive or unhealthy?
I mean, I feel like there's kind of a lot of things that, even would be seen in a non-LGBTQ+ relationship. Sometimes it's small things like, the other person doesn't want you to go and see your friends today because, they're feeling alone. And then it becomes a pattern of you're not able to text your friends or your family, you're not able to call them, and you're starting to feel, really isolated. And I think actually if you notice that, someone has made you feel that way and that that's the only person you can speak to, it's maybe worth reaching out to someone, and sort of, again, that kind of controlling behavior of maybe controlling what you wear, what you eat, where you go, always asking where you are. If you are at a friend's house, the constant phone calls of, where are you? When are you coming home? You need to be home by this time. I think all of those are, a pretty big flag to me that it's maybe not looking the best.
Yeah, no, because like in a healthy relationship, like each person is able to assert their own boundaries. Like they're able to say, I'm going out and like, don't keep calling me all the time.
Yeah.
No thanks. And then the other person just won't.
Someone phoning to ask when you're home, should I have dinner with or without you is, one thing, but it's also maybe worth asking yourself, are you worried about what you're going to say to the other person? Are you worried about, are they going to get angry? Are you finding yourself walking on eggshells?
I think more generally as well, like when things are going well, are you afraid of what's going to happen if they go wrong? Do you expect that they're going to go wrong? Like, is there this fear overlaid of like, things are great right now, and maybe you're having a really good time with the person, you really like them, but if things go wrong, it's going to be bad.
And I think as well, like in specifically like queer relationships and everything, there can be that added thing of controlling of, I'll tell your mum that you're bisexual, or refusing to, if someone's trans, refusing to use their name, even looking at how they speak about other queer people. They might, completely respect your identity, but are they respecting your friends' identities? Are they, if you have a trans friend, are they respecting his name? Are they using his pronouns, or are they saying, oh, well, that's not a real trans person,
Somebody can define what being LGBTQ+ like is and means. Like, as we were saying, like with the trans people, like, what a real trans person is maybe, or, what a real, like gay relationship looks like, and then can use that to be like, I guess hold you to the standards of like what they say is the correct kind of relationship, the correct kind of behavior for a person with your identity.
Yeah.
And they can use that to cut you off from people, or to cut you off from expressing yourself in like ways that you would want to.
If you are worried you might be experiencing domestic abuse, these questions might help.
Does your partner threaten or use physical violence?
Do you feel scared of your partner or get worried about what they might do?
Do you feel like you watch what you say and do to avoid angering your partner, like you're walking on eggshells?
Do they make it difficult for you to see friends or family?
Do they undermine your identity, like misgendering you, using homophobic, biphobic or transphobic language? Do you worry they might out you against your wishes?
Does your partner tell you how to dress, act and behave?
Do you feel pressured or coerced to have sex? Would saying no cause issues?
Do they insult you or put you down?
Are they jealous? Do they accuse you of cheating or flirting?
Do they monitor your online activity, such as checking your messages and tracking your location?
Do they make you feel like you can't do anything right?
Where can LGBTQ+ young people access support for domestic abuse?
Okay, so domestic abuse is obviously pretty detrimental to physical and mental health, your relationships with other people, self-esteem, self-confidence, and your identity. If you or someone you care about, you think is experiencing domestic abuse, you know, it's good to have a chat with them, help them, support them, talking to a family member and whatnot. But you know, these people aren't professionally trained, so just good emotional support.
You can also like go to other services, even if like it might not be bad enough that you think you need to go yet, go early. Even if it does hit the point where like this is that bad that I actually really, really need help, then you probably should reach out for support. There's like lots of different places you can do that. So like Women's Aid is probably like the one that everybody thinks of. Some of them are very inclusive of LGBT women and girls, but there's other places as well that you can get help, especially if you're trans or non-binary or if you're a male. So places like Gallup or the Scottish Domestic Abuse and Forced Marriage Helpline are great places to start with, and so is Rape Crisis Scotland. They all have like helplines that you can call or text, and they offer support as well for everybody.
Domestic abuse is a crime in Scotland, so it's fully reportable to the police. If it's an emergency, call 999. If you feel like it's not an emergency situation, you can obviously call the 101 line, and they also have a domestic abuse disclosure service. So if you're concerned about like your friend's partner, you can ask them to have a look. Has this person been abusive in the past? Are they a risk for abuse now? And they can inform you and also the person at risk of abuse if that is a risk.
You can also reach out to helplines and stuff anonymously. So if you don't want to admit that it's you, but you still need some help, then you can be like, hi, I would like help, but I don't want you to tell me anything about me. That counts even if you want to stay in the relationship with the person, even if you're concerned they might be abusive. They will still support you. They're not going to go, oh, well, you're deciding to stay. Like, they'll be like, no, we'll still help you, it's okay. And then if you decide to leave, they can give you the support to leave as well. It can be done anonymously as well.
And there are always the text services.
My friend is in an unhealthy or abusive relationship. How can I support them?
So if you are supporting someone else who you're concerned about and you're like taking on a bit of a role of that support, it's important that you look after yourself first. Yes, you want to give them all the help you can, but actually it's not worth helping someone else if you're like damaging your own health at the same time. So prioritize putting yourself first when you're doing that, and whatever you do not put yourself in harm's way.
Yeah, and one of the hard things can be starting the conversation with your friend, because often people in bad situations and abusive relationships don't recognise, or they'll make excuses for their partner and minimise the behaviour. I found that just going, hey, I've noticed this behaviour in your relationship, that must be really hard to deal with, are you okay?
And then make sure that like you're not putting your friend at further risk by having those conversations. Make sure it's in like a safe place, and that your friend feels safe and supported, but you're both safe, not just your friend or not just you. Everybody in the situation is as safe as they can be, also having that chat.
Yeah, if you know that this abuser monitors like the phone and what you're Googling or who you're contacting, offer to let them use your phone. That's often really helpful. You know, just taking the time to learn about domestic abuse for your friend can be really helpful. Like, you don't have to be an expert, no one's expecting that, but knowing some signs and just...
And then knowing where to go.
Yeah.
Like having a little look at what is available in that area. There's always the police, which can be quite big and scary, but if you've got someone with you, it can take away that pressure a little bit.
Yeah, and you always, you know, follow their timeline, because sometimes it's like, I'm aware it's bad, but I need to stay right now, and you just gotta support them. And
let them do it in their own time.
Yeah.
One of the other biggies is never make the promise of, I won't go to the police, or I won't tell anybody, because if it gets worse, you're gonna have to tell somebody. If you're really, really worried about your friend's safety and you think they might be at serious risk, you have to tell someone.
Absolutely.
You can't just keep that quiet.
I'm worried about my own abusive behaviour in relationships. What can I do?
If you are worried that your behaviour might be a bit unhealthy to your partner, perhaps toxic or even abusive, it is important to know that you can get help for these things, and there are places you can go to get support for these things. You do not have to be this way forever, and there are steps you can take to change your behaviour. People who perpetrate domestic abuse often can minimise the impact of their behaviour, not realising how the other person feels, or saying things such as, it's not that bad, it doesn't happen often, or perhaps even, You might feel that your partner caused it due to, your partner's behaviour. There is never any excuse for abusive behaviour, be this manipulation, being controlling, or any other form. Abuse is a choice, and you can choose to behave differently. Just because you've done this in the past does not mean you need to do it in the future. Respect UK is a service that can offer support to anyone who is worried that they are perpetrating abuse, or perhaps just have unhealthy patterns in their behaviour or a bit of a toxicity in their relationship. Respect UK works with anyone from any background, any sexual orientation, gender identity, or anything else. They truly work with anyone.